Hello friends, today we are going to take a look on the topic called that is the SLA. So SLA simply means the service level agreement. So now as you know as a customer we are using the Microsoft Azure. So Microsoft also provide SLA for different type of products and services. So if I just tell you the basic definition of SLA, so it's just a service level agreement between the service provider, that is in our case is Azure, and a consumer. Okay. So the another point which we should note is that SLA is described in terms of digits. So for example, let's say if I say you that I have a virtual machine that is deployed in a uh, availability zone. So in that case, that particular virtual machine will have the availability or the SLA as 99.99%. And let's say if I deploy a virtual machine using the availability set, so in that case, I will get the SLA of 99.95%. So point here is to note is that SLA is nothing, it's just a type of percentage by which Microsoft commits that our services will be up for these percentage. So you already know for availability zones it's 99.99, for availability sets it's 99.95 percentage. So higher the number of nines after 99 point, more will be the SLA. So we should always focus to improve our SLA so that our application will have the least downtime. And there are few other terms which generally is a synonym of SLA, that is the uptime. So if somewhere you it is written that uh, what is uptime, so uptime is nothing, it's just a type of SLA only. So availability, so these are also the synonyms which may come in your examination, and that is important to remember that all these terms simply means the SLA only. So we all know that if any service is released by Microsoft, so before that it goes into the testing, or I would say the private and preview mode. So the services which we usually use in private mode, so that are not supported for SLA. The reason is straightforward, because as those services are in private mode, that Microsoft haven't released them for the general availability. So that's why Microsoft do not uh, provide any sort of SLA for the applications which are free products. Okay. And generally the services which are provided in the private mode, they even do not, Microsoft do not take any sort of cost for that as well. So these are only the free Azure products. And another factor is that, let's say if Microsoft is not able to meet the SLA for a given month, so then Microsoft will not say anything. So it's just a responsibility of that particular customer, or either they should connect to their CSP to obtain the credits. So generally, if Microsoft is fails to provide you SLA for a month, so in that case, they, you know, in the next billing cycle, they give you the discount up to that percentage. So even if the SLA is quite less, you can say if it is less than 90, so in that case, Microsoft generally provides you 100% credits. So now to improve your SLA, you should always go with the higher tier of the application. So let's say if you have a SQL database, so instead of using that SQL database for the testing and development purpose, you can go with the business critical SQL database. So they will have higher number of SLAs. So it's a simple thing that if you want to increase your SLA, so you should go with the higher tier of the applications. So the next thing is that it is quite straightforward that you can never go with the 100% of SLAs, because if you develop any application that requires a different combination of the resources, let's say if you even hosted a website or web application, so it will require the database, it will require some few other services. Let's say if you are using ML there, so generally if you are making any application, so it's just a combination of different resources from Azure. So if any one of applications will be down, so other resources will also get affected, isn't it? So that's why it is not always possible to achieve the 100% SLA or availability, but yeah, we should always try for to get that maximum done. There is another important term which is called Composite SLA. So it's just a combination of different services, whatever you are using. So let's say if I want to deploy any application, so I am using the Azure resources, that is the web app. So generally the web app have 99.95 SLA, and I'm also using a SQL database that have the SLA of 99.99%. So if you are using both of these services, that is the web app and the SQL database, so whatever applications whatever application you are making, its overall SLA is going to decrease. So to get your composite SLA, what you need to do, you simply pick every Azure services and multiply them. So overall, when you multiply them, your overall result is going to down. So that's why you should be very cautious that if you are, you know, adding much more resources to your application, so your resources or your SLA is going to decrease. Okay, so there are multiple factors which generally affect your SLA. So for example, if you even deploy a virtual machine and if you are using the ultra disk or the premium SSDs, so in that case your SLA will be something different. So generally it's 99.9 percentage SLA when you deploy a virtual machine using the ultra disk or premium SSD higher tier disk. And if you only use the standard SSD, so that gives you the SLA of 99.5 percentage. And if you deploy a virtual machine using HDD, in that case you get the SLA of 95%. So even if you see, while if your disk type are different, then also your SLA changes. If you go with the higher, then yeah, definitely your SLA will be improved or increased. So at last, now see like what are the factors which can improve your SLA in an application. So the first thing is that if you just redundant your resources, so definitely your SLA is going to increase. Another thing is that if you are using the availability sets or availability zones to deploy any Azure resources, so definitely it will have the higher SLA. So somehow that will also have redundancy. Now there are few factors which definitely degrade your SLA. For example, if you are using any services which is in private mode, let's say if Azure resources any uh, new service, any new ABC service, and if you are using that service in your application, and even though it has not been into general availability mode, in that case what you are doing, you are killing your SLA and you are simply downgrading or degrading your SLAs. So always go with the general availability or resources in your application so that you have maximum SLA from Azure side. And yep, you can, when you simply try to increase the resources in your application you are using the concept of uh, machine learning as well. You are also having the virtual machine, you are also having the IAS, PAS, and all these sorts of applications combination. So the overall product of them that is going to degrade your overall SLA. So now in like overall what we can say, SLA is just a formal agreement between the Microsoft and the customer, and we should always go with the higher SLA because that eventually is going to improve the uptime of our applications. And while creating any application, you should wisely choose your resources of your application, because if you're randomly using any sort of resources, so that is going to decrease SLA. So once you decrease your SLA, so the chances of your application to have uptime will definitely reduce. Yep. So thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you a great day.